what do you think about the idea of explain this? So you saw your grandfather the night he died in your dream.
Mm-hmm. Also, a friend of mine, that happened with another person too.
Yeah, and it happened to my own mother when my father's dad died.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, our doorbell rang, and it was, my mom said, "Oh, that was Grandpa saying goodbye."
Oh.
So, my question, it's not really a question, it's more of an idea to ponder, that because you're connected through DNA, that gives you like, I don't know, a wormhole to get to his knowledge base. Not to make it sound technical, but
mm-hmm.
to make it clear. So he's gone, but what the variable portion of his life, the memories, experiences, are stored in the DNA. I think this is true. In that, through dreams, it gives you a connection through the lineage to access that knowledge. And I think one of the functions of whatever we live in is to project that as your memory of that frequency. Because everyone has, every DNA, every person, every unique combination of DNA throws off a unique frequency. So, and that's, I don't know. What do you think about that idea? Is that just too crazy?
No, it's not actually. I mean, but though I feel like not only through the DNA, yes, I feel like there's a lot of ancestral power that's around, and knowledge that we do get that way.
Mm-hmm. The bigger,
but I also,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
I also feel like it can be that way with people that we're not connected to just through DNA. Like I definitely feel it. Like when people die, this like thing happens. Like my mentor Kelan, he passed away recently, and
mm-hmm.
it was just like I was almost more connected to him for a while because there was no body in the way of us connecting.
Yeah.
Like I feel like his knowledge that he was trying to give to me is actually even closer to me now that he's not here in his body, because it's free to just osmosis into people.
so
I don't think
what I wanted to say as a follow-up to that was, because we're all related. What I'm saying, we all come, if any of this is true, historically, in evolution, all that, if it's true, we all come from a common ancestor. In that, we all share each other's knowledge through this connection.
Mm-hmm.
So just over time, we've lost it, however that is. But that could also be, in some ways, called the Akashic Record.
Yeah. I mean, I keep bringing up that dream that I had about the buried head, the
mm-hmm. decapitated
head.
Mm-hmm.
But that was that's a classic. It's just a myth. It's a story that's been, I'd never heard, but it was there in my dream. It's like I was tapping into something that humanity has known forever,
Yeah.
And it was teaching me something, but
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's like the word of mouth tradition is finding its way to everyone. In that, because it's been lost over time, and it seems lately that it's something that people are getting more experiences like that in dream.
Well, yeah, and I feel like that type of dream, like I don't know if I made half the points I started trying to make, but our dreams I feel like they're there to guide us if we want to listen to them. And yeah, it is coming from a higher place, and it could be the collective unconscious, if you will, or it's telling us all this stored knowledge of humanity, all the stories, all the things we can tap into in our dreams, all these symbols are helping us find our way. We're connected through those.
Absolutely, and you can even explain this you don't want to get crazy with wormholes in your DNA and stuff, you could say, I was just using that as an example, some kind of tunnel.
No, that's okay. No, it makes sense to me.
But just the fact that if quantum entanglement is true, and we're all made from the same stuff, then we're all connected to that. So I mean, it can go any way. It can go either way. That could even reinforce the initial connection. I wrote an article a couple days ago that I'm pushing my writing about the collective unconscious, and my idea that it exists outside of what we call time, and in that it acts kind of like a water balloon, and if you poke it, it's going to ripple or pebble in a pond. And those ripples can be felt back and forth in the past and in the future. Because it exists outside of time, this collective. And in that, it can seed creativity in those times, which is what we see echoed back to us in film, like people will say The Simpsons are predicting 9/11. That kind of thing. Are you familiar with any of those conspiracy? I don't want to say conspiracy.
No, I hadn't. I had not heard of that.
Yeah, it's what people call predictive programming. You'll hear a lot about that. Or if you hear about it, that's how it's portrayed or presented. That it's predictive programming by the controllers, whoever they are, to let us know what they're up to in the future. Because it erases the karma, it resets the karma because it's a consensual thing. This is their argument, not mine, that these controllers would basically, you're giving consent because they consider it that they've told you because they put it in this cartoon that's very popular. That's the attitude of some of these conspiracy theorists, and that is really a conspiracy in my mind. And I just think it's people picking up on the ripple that came by.
Well,
and interpreting it through however. Yeah.
When you started talking about that ripple, and when you poke it, there's this ripple that goes through. It kind of made me think about what we were talking about with the deja vu. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
It just does something that you've seen it before. You're like, oh, I knew this. I could tell this. I've been here before. And it's just something got out of sync. But it hints at that idea that time isn't quite what we think it is. I mean, lately, I've been losing time. Like it's just happening so much lately that it's almost bizarre. Not like it's just time doesn't exist. It just moves in this super strange way. Like I'll start my radio show at 9 and then the next DJ's there and it seems like it was 5 minutes, but it was 3 hours. And yeah, time flies when you're having fun, but it really felt like there was no time there,
I think everybody has like a temporal metabolism and they metabolize time in different ways. So it's more of a subjective, and that people explain that as, time flies when you're having fun. And it does. But I think that's why, because it's really a subjective experience.
It's a fascinating experience just
Absolutely.
when you watch time. And when I'm doing craniosacral, sometimes 1 minute will seem like half an hour, and other times half an hour will feel like a minute. And that's like an hour where I spend that I'm just not talking at all and watching, just paying attention to what's happening in this person's body and stuff. But it's interesting how time moves in those situations.
Maybe when your full brain is more, I don't put full brain. When you have multiple things that you're focusing upon, time is eaten up by each one individually. Whereas if you're focusing on a single thing, time has to go through that filter first, of the one thing. It's almost like a big parallel thing. You can have, never mind. That's way out there. No, it's a good thought. I'm writing it down.
I'm back, y'all, by the way.
Hi.
Dude, you just missed the best conversation.
I popped in, I think, right when maybe 2 minutes ago. Of course, I missed the best conversation.
No.
So along those lines with the DNA, so my idea, she made me think of this with the grandfather and then my mom having that experience, and she has another friend with it. That what if the idea that your DNA is your lineage and it stores all the memories of your ancestors in like a little ancestral knowledge base that you can access, but only through dreams. Like you can wormhole to your grandpa, and maybe he can come see you too that way. And we were talking about that. The other question I had is,
you're making me want to see my grandpa. Grandpa, come see
I'm
me
sorry,
today.
I apologize.
And maybe this will cue that. Yeah.
Well, I didn't go there with Ayme because this is kind of woo. I was going to say maybe where I went with that was that that this is something we do naturally in this environment, but we forgot, or we lost that knowledge, or it's been taken away, whatever, right? And maybe just becoming aware of it will activate it, as so many other things seem to happen that way.
Right. Yeah. The intention to know. Yeah.
Right. So, which I got one more question, then I will shut up.
No, please don't shut up, Jerry. Jeez.
Dream memory and real memory, are they stored in the same place? These are more discussion points, not...
My feeling is that I don't think they are for some reason. I feel like they're not.
They're distinguishable.
Well, I do feel like that it can get blurred. We were talking about that earlier, right?
That's when I wrote it down.
It's really interesting because I have like no memory. I mean, it's there sort of, but my memory works really weirdly. And half my life does actually seem like a dream. A lot of strange things, a lot of strange experiences, and it's kind of magical in the same way that dreams are when you look back on it,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I sense that they're in different places. I feel like, I don't know.
I used to call it that my memory reached a threshold where it then became someone else's life. Like,
wow.
You remember it like it was a movie versus yourself.
Yeah.
It was about 20 years, I think, was that gap. The last time I thought about it.
What was I going to say on that point? Something. I don't know.
Well,
no. You don't apologize.
Do you feel at all? I know you do seem to have a deep connection with your family and all this, but it's like when you think back to Ayme of other periods, other life Amy's within this life, is there something that's congruent about them? Do they feel like you can still relate to that Ayme, or does it feel like you're a whole different person now?
Oh no, I can relate to that Ayme for sure. Like it's like that 4-year-old Ayme that was like all like, whoa, like what if God didn't create the world? Then what's going on? Like that's so exactly who I am now, and all all the different parts of me. It's just interesting to see how life shapes you and what choices you make about your boundaries and various things like that, and how a lot of myself is trying to get back to that 4-year-old Ayme. That's so who I was so cool with everything. I was cool with that very intuitive, strong, the world is magic person. And also that same person that was crying at that concert.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We're all connected, man. Why can't they just see it? I thought it was the craziest thing, not on drugs or anything. I remember that now. But yeah, I connect with all the different Amy's at different times. I don't want to connect with the one that was in love with some dumb guy, but oh well.
Well, it's just everyone has a different take on that. Like when I look back at like oh my God, the mini me's of my life. People come to me with, things like, oh, I remember that time you threw your pee-pee panties at Bart. This is in Marietta, and we're all drunk, and you threw your pee-pee panties at Bart. I'm like, no, I don't have this memory at all in Little 5 Points. Thank you very much, but it's funny. So when I think back to things I can remember, I still don't have I'm like, oh, yeah, like they, wow. I feel disconnected to lots of me's through the year. Yet I know intellectually it's all me. I'm not at all in a psychotic snap or a separation in the continuum, but it feels like other lives to me, really. They could be other lives, like completely detached from who and what I am now.
That's what I just said.
Is it, Jer? I missed that conversation, though.
No, you were sitting here. I said it. The last thing I said was it falls into that someone else's life category.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was trying to get up to speed. I was trying to get. It's the only time I had checked the chat.
I'm glad you shared that opinion. No, it's good.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when I think about my life, I think about chapters in a book. Because the book is all me, but then there's separate chapters.
Yeah, that's a good way to go about it. Except for I feel really disconnected to many of the chapters. Like they had a whole arc, it's like they lived and died and moved on. There was so much stuff going on, and then I just completely shed my skin and moved on, and somehow have taken the grains of whatever I needed. And it could be, and see, this is something that I was going to ask you. It was, I think sometimes this is the difference between people. I could be completely wrong here, but you had a pretty standard upbringing with family that loved you. You still have family around you that loved you. There was no drama there, more so than nothing dramatic. Like you weren't running away and all that. I was. And so I wonder sometimes if it's just that early programming and sense of being tied to a family. Like my whole early life was counting the days, like those Christmas tree rings we'd make in school till Christmas, each one you'd tear off a piece of paper ring, and through December. And I felt like my whole early childhood was that way. And so once I was able to finally break free, I left and I didn't look back, and I continued. That's a cycle I play. So I don't have a core, I don't have like a tribe. And so when I hear people that do, like Scott, who I married, I can't remember. I feel like you knew Scott, Amy. I mean, he was at Smoke Daddy. He was at Smoke Daddy all the time. And you'd know him by appearance for sure.
I'm sure I would. Yeah.
But he had a perfectly normal life with family that loved him. They, they just started this whole other experience that I didn't have. I came from like circus freaks. So, and he always seemed to be connected, and said similar things that you say, and other people I know that had seemingly stable, nice upbringings. There's a continuity in life, and they feel connected. And I wonder, is it a survival mechanism, right? Where you have to detach at some point and move on, like a salamander losing a tail or something.
Well, it's interesting because I wonder what you would, I mean, if you talk to my sister, because I know she has a tendency to do that. Just in her life, she'll shed her skin, even though she's been in Chicago, which she'll be in like one group of people, and then she'll completely shed her skin, and then she'll be in another group of people, and then she'll shed her skin, and then she doesn't talk to those people, and then she'll, you know what I mean? She doesn't like actually go to different places, but I wonder what her feeling is as opposed to mine being in the same family,
Who is older?
Because I am.
Are you the oldest in the family?
No, I'm like the third.
Oh, girl, there's some kids up in there.
Yeah, 4 kids. Yeah, and but I do. Yeah, I mean, but you do have your tribe and your friends, I'm sure.
Oh, I do. You know this, yeah. And I feel I'm very loyal to them, and it's people that accept that kind of, I hate to use the term, the gypsy feet in me, that I'm, when I'm around, everyone appreciates that I'm around. And then when I come back, it's the people that say, where were you? Then I'm like, oh my God, it's like, how are you? Let's pick up,
right.
Instead of guilting me. So, and that's how my tribe is formed over my life. But it's been by my choice, and I'm not bound by blood or family or anything that I don't want to be bound by.
And that's a great thing.
Yeah, but it's weird when we talk about in relevance to dreams and memory. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, and this is what I'm trying to get at in these conversations, is what's the overlap?
Yeah.
Where does my experience overlap yours, that overlaps Jerry's, that overlaps Nomad's, that overlaps Suzanne's? And what's that kernel there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do feel very connected to my dreams. I mean, I feel like we all do. That's an overlap. I mean, you mean in the realm of dreaming?
Well, I just mean in memory. And then I'm also one of those people that questions the difference, or the not difference, the similarity between memory and dreams and death, these altered states of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a thread of continuity between all of them. And I think the only thing that makes this waking life seem more tangible, more sparkly, is because our focus is here right now. Once this is over, then it goes into memory, which is no more concrete than the dream you had 2 days ago or 10 years ago.
Right.
And that's what I'm interested in. So if we can change consciousness at will, if we wanted to keep into the Jungian side of things, where we shift around, then I should be, in theory, able to shift my consciousness to when I was 3 years old, or to, that crazy lucid dream I had at whatever point, or bigger, further out of this whole construct, and figure out where and who am I really.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it could be something that you could do if you wanted to, or if you could figure out how to get yourself to be there. You know what I mean?
I guess there's a good amount of fear that plays into this too, because we're attached to here and now. I'm attached to the fact that I'm sitting in my beautiful house wearing a fringe shawl, and I got my little puppy over here and stuff like that. So I'm attached to, there's attachments, and I think attachments are just that, they're chains in a way. And so when we're viewing it from an altered state of consciousness or an altered state's perspective, the attachments are what stick out. So the dream I come out of, what do I remember? Well, I remember the things that were somehow have an attachment to me, and they've come from there and into this experience. Mm-hmm. Those are attachments. I somehow, they can't get them out of my mind. Same with memories. This experience, whether it was bad or good at 3 or 4 or 5 or 2 years ago, somehow remains and sticks out. Whatever it is, it becomes an attachment, and these attachments are like anchors.
Right. They can be looked at as something grounding, as well as something that can keep you in one place. Like, you can look at them as positive or negative depending on how you deal with them. Like if you're traveling to all these different realms in your mind or whatever it is, if you have something that you can focus on that can lead you back to that then you're like, oh, right, that thing. And you don't get lost. You know what I mean? There's that.
Right. Well, that's as you circumambulate anything, the perspective changes. So something terrible could look really wonderful in different lighting at a different point in the circle.
Mm-hmm.
That's another reason why I now at this point don't make harsh judgments, and have stepped way back into the student seat again, like emptied the cup. So, because I feel like having at least seen a couple angles within my own life where I completely contradict myself. So, me of 5 years ago is a complete contradiction to me right now in so many ways that, like I'm sure that person said things that I absolutely would be appalled at, like, oh my God, who is this bitch? And, like, oh hell.
Yeah.
So, and so because of that, I've allowed myself to just flow. And that's the whole thing though, right? The memory, the dream, the now, death, higher consciousness, lower consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, I'm surrounded by people that never talk about this, so I'm out of practice.
Well, this is an unusual chat, by the way. I'm not usually like this. It's because we're friends, so Jerry's experiencing us. We are friends in real life. And
to be perfectly honest, I'm not paying attention.
Okay, well, you should, because it's actually interesting, I think. I will
hear it when I play it back. It's your question. I'm not really. I'm doing other shit. I'm cleaning up after the show, downloading and sending out thank you note and. All that stuff. Which I usually do when you talk.
I know. See, this is why we work well together.
I listen in the background. I mean, I'm not. I don't know what you're talking about, but
and then when you go to these post shows, Jerry listens like he edits them, so it's like he listens 10 times.
Right.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Exactly. That's it. So it's like I'm not going to miss it, but I might miss a question that I wanted to ask. But that's why I try to listen. Pay attention.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I was having a conversation with everyone in the other group. What?
That's cool.
I want to get to, what do you think about the state of death? As it in context, so stay in context to what we've just set up with altered states of consciousness that are not woo-woo. A dream is not a woo-woo thing. A memory is not a woo-woo thing, right. But those are altered states of consciousness from here and now.
Right. Yeah.
So death, what do you think it is, and how does it tie into dreams and memories and who you are now?
Well, I mean, it's free of the body, That's one, that's one thing. That's the anchor that we seem to, our body's here when we're dreaming and when we remember, but the memories and dreams themselves are not of the body necessarily. They're coming from our brain, but they're beyond that, right? And then death is an actual departure from the body itself. So all that energy that was tied up in that body is free to dissipate and disperse into all the elements around. That's what I always feel that when somebody close to me dies. It's really weird. It's so sad when they're gone, but then there's this weird euphoria of them dissolving into everybody. You can just feel them so closely, and to me it always feels like it's not sad. I'm right here, when they're they've let go and they got bigger. I just feel like this body is where we're living for a while, and then death is freeing. And I think in that sense, our dreams are also freeing, or can be freeing. And if we can play in our dreams ever and have lucid dreams, I mean, it's been done, and I actually want to do it myself. I want to learn how to do that, just to see what it's like to travel around in my unconscious and be aware of being there, because that's a whole nother world. That's being free of your body while you're still in your body, you know? But memories are something that already happens. I don't know. That's a tricky one. Can you go back to your memories? There's a little bit of a different animal there because I feel like memories are less free, you know, because they're bound to all these things.
But yet when you talk about them with other people, nobody remembers the same thing.
Right, that's true.
Jerry.
I'm sorry. I thought I was muted, and then I realized, never mind. Have you ever heard of quantum healing technology?
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but maybe.
Is
that what it's called? It's a thing? Like, that's what it's called?
It's called QHHT. I forget what the other H stands for. I could look it up.
Tell me more.
It's basically...
I'm intrigued also.
From what I've researched and what I've seen, it's a hypnotherapy type of experience where you are regressed back to a memory in which you correct it. And the coming out of that phase, that trance, that state, that altered state, let's put it that way, that wound is healed. In other words, whatever that affected in your growth from there on is forever changed now. It's like time traveling back and telling yourself, don't stick your dick in that light socket.
That's very valid. I feel like, because it's weird how strongly these like events in our life can, like, sometimes it's like, well, how do you deal with something that was traumatic, or you see like a turn in your life that changed the way you are or something. You're like, oh, well, that sucks. I don't know. There's something weird about going back.
Well, this is what I'm thinking now after I just said all those words, is that, in a way, we don't know. You cannot tell me that you existed 30 years ago and prove it. Well, you have our memory. You can't really prove it to yourself.
Right.
So that means that your memories are what shaped you, what shaped what you are today. So that may be an active, always on kind of thing. It's not like a pile that gets stacked upon. It's a fluid thing. It can change at any point. So if you think of it that way, then it makes sense to me.
Well, memories are, they're fluid. Yeah, whatever happens in your life, you choose to respond to it. Your perspective changes around whatever that momentous or maybe not so momentous event was. You can change your perspective on it.
Right,
and it changes.
But then it would heal that in the future for you. So that would imply that there's still a connection from that initial thing to now. It's not something that's been buried or layered upon.
When you're talking about the quantum healing,
yes,
that process, there's something about. Don't laugh at me because I'm going to talk about Doctor Who now. But it reminds me of Doctor Who in a sense that you can't change things. It's not good to go back and change things because it makes this whole cascade of events. Like,
right, it ripples.
Like to me, well, if I wouldn't, I could say I wanted to change stuff, but I don't really want to change anything because I'm here. I like to, now I'm going from this point in my life to another point in my life. I don't.
The process doesn't wipe out the memory. It's a therapeutic method of dealing with a trauma. Okay. But the way it's done seems to have a ripple effect upward in your consciousness. So you can, whatever blocks were put in that you don't know about, or programs or whatever, are in your consciousness because of that event that you may not even be aware of. Like I have this weird thing.
I think I understand.
I don't like to put my feet under a car. It's a weird thing. I don't know why. I'm afraid it's going to drop on my foot. You know, something in my past caused that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just
Yeah, I mean, because I have like all those like crazy blocks about various things that are sort of like trudging. I will work through them, whatever these ghostly blocks are that keep me from moving forward, even though I am moving forward now. Yay. But yeah, if I could make it so that I can walk faster, that'd be cool.
Well, and the New Age movement really co-opted that with saying, you know, like the whole past life thing, which I'm not invalidating at all. I'm just saying it turned into kind of the white light thing.
I will invalidate it.
That I know, but you know, that whole thing though, like, oh, she's, you know, that scar on your neck, you were beheaded, and your fear of heights is because, you know, you felt.
That's legitimate.
It is legitimate, but it got co-opted and turned into the white light arena.
Well, they introduced the programming with the hypnotherapy aspect, the regression.
Right.
That's how it was co-opted. And I don't even know if it was intentional.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's intentional or not. And it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, none of that
I was speaking
matters.
to the New Age movement being a psyop. Intentionality.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've never featured the New Age movement.
No, never mind. Well, so I just wanted to also say that Doctor Who is like not even on our scale of weird, okay?
We love Doctor Who, but it's doesn't even touch the Fringe, girl. It's still on the shawl.
Like I'm at the point now where I'm pretty sure we're all artificial intelligence in a DNA scuba suit. You know, that's pretty weird.
Right. And the awakening is we're all coming online.
We're becoming self-aware.
Yeah, we're becoming self-aware.
We are approaching the singularity, which is
I dig it.
The event.
So Jerry and I can take you there with Fringe and woo woo. Like,
I love it.
Yeah,
bring it. I'm going. I'm on board.
Who had you should listen to the interview we did with Ra Castaldo. That was pretty interesting.
Hey, Ra's awesome.
And woo.
Now I can listen. I started listening, but I wanted to be more. I didn't want to listen to. I would listen a little bit to some part of a podcast, but I was like, wait, I just want to be surprised. I want to see what happens.
That's how I would have done it.
Hearing.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would have done it.
So but what did you think?
You've had some great interviews.
I definitely want to listen. I hope I did okay on there. I felt rambly. I've slept like 12 hours in the last 3 days.
You did wonderful, and we kind of ramble. I mean, that's you know, it is a conversation in the end. It's not an interview.
Everyone said it was fantastic. Best show ever.
Did they?
Amazing. Wow, this guest is amazing. Yeah. What?
Wow.
What? Somebody said it was best show ever?
Yeah.
Wow. I got a text from John Wolfe who said we're really getting our vibe together or something. Let me look at it.
Yeah, tonight's show was right on. We didn't have any fuck ups. The sound was perfect, you know.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I try not to skip away from this window that we're talking on. Otherwise I drop out. So Jerry handles all the
background chatter.
Cool. I was surprised. I didn't even tell you guys about my Tom Cruise dreams.
Well, here we are. We're talking. Let's talk about him.
Well, so I have a recurring dream. It's one of my few recurring dreams is Tom Cruise. Now, mind you, I despise Tom Cruise. I am not attracted to him. I think he's lame. Okay,
I am with you on that.
Okay,
he looks like a lesbian woman.
Slightly horrified.
Really? Yeah, he's icky. So I have these dreams that will be like at a party or something, and you know, somebody like my mom and my sister, or like friend or whoever. There are other people that I know at this party. And I'm there, and then Tom Cruise is like hitting on me at the buffet, and I'm like, ew, what an idiot, you know, and I walk away, and then like my mom or my sister or my friend is like, he was really hot. Why are you being a jerk to him? I'm like, ew, he's disgusting. I don't like him at all. He's gross. And then somewhere in the dream, I end up making out with him, and it's awesome.
Oh.
Okay, so I'll tell you what those dreams mean. It's always when I'm being closed-minded about something, and I need to try it before I need to enter into the world before I can say it's really awful, because it's not fair to whatever it is. But my dream, the only thing I can figure out that I hate that much is Tom Cruise.
That is funny. That is really, truly funny. But that is the perfect analytical approach to that dream, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I had to figure it out because it kept coming back. I'll just wake up and be like, why Tom Cruise? Ew. And then I was like, that's exactly why Tom Cruise. My brain couldn't think of anybody else.
So what actually got you to the point of figuring that out in your analysis of it having reoccurred, that it was when you were being closed off to something?
It's funny. See, now this is where we were talking about dreams being more vivid than the reality. Like, I can't really remember right now the specific incidents that this dream appeared in. Like in my life, I'm sure it was something like, I don't know, I would never want to be something that I really hated that I tried, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'll say, I never want to be bartending at a wedding. That's dumb, or whatever. And then that's such a bad example, honestly. But, and then I do it. I'm like, I love bartending at weddings, That's such a bad example, though. I'm sure there's a much more wonderful example.
But what made you make that association with that dream? Like, so it was a reoccurring dream, or a theme at least. Right?
I guess I had to think. Yeah, it was. I had to. I recall just kind of breaking it down. Like, why? Ew, it's so dramatic. Why am I making out with Tom Cruise? Gross. What does Tom Cruise represent to me?
Mm-hmm.
Something I've never tried. Like that. I kind of broke it down. Like,
mm-hmm.
Why him? Why was it great? What does it mean that everybody else thinks he's great and I'm not listening to them? It was kind of like a step-by-step breaking it down analyzation of it, I guess. That's usually how if I have a dream that's like I used to have dreams where I was eating meat. And that to me, because I'm a vegetarian, that needs to be stated if I'm going to say that.
Right.
But whenever I'm eating meat in a dream, it's like you are going against your basic instinct right now. Like you're going against a really strong belief of your, like that dream will always call to me like, what am I doing? I'm going against something I believe, and it's not good,
What if you're interpreting it the opposite way of how it's meant to be interpreted?
Well, then,
what if your body's trying to tell you it needs meat protein?
It doesn't feel like that.
Okay.
And it's definitely an intuitive process when you analyze your dreams. It's more like what feels right as opposed to
verbal.
The obvious, it's more. I mean, I feel like I was going to bring this up. Like our conscious mind, I always think like, for me, like I write, and I also write music. And I feel like our waking life can be much more like how I was with writing. Like writing, I could write anything into reality or create whatever scenario I wanted from whatever. Like if I wanted to believe one way, I would just write it and be so convincing. I'd convince myself and everything else and blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't really that good for me growth-wise sometimes, because I would just have fun spinning tales about my own life and putting spin on my actual life. And then music does not allow me to do that in any way. I can't lie when I write music. And I feel like that's more how the unconscious or our dreams are working with us, as opposed to our waking life.
They integrate and come out through your creativity?
Like,
Or once you integrate it, once you accept it or understand it, however that comes about.
The direction is coming from a higher point. I think that's more what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Like our waking life, like I can walk around and say whatever and people will be like, yeah, I really don't like squirrels. They're so disgusting. I could tell anybody that, right? And they'd be like, wow, you don't like squirrels, they're disgusting. But actually I love squirrels, but I can tell people could believe that. But your unconscious, or like the dream world where those messages are coming from, it doesn't lie. You see what I'm saying? Like in music, and I think
absolutely.
And dreams come from the same world for me. Other people can lie in music. I can't, because it's so abstract what I get messages from music. How I write music.
It's like math. It can't lie.
I cannot. For me, I can't lie in music. It's like I'll write a song and it has to be the truth.
But maybe that's because
somewhere else.
It doesn't have to be a testimony. I mean, it's fiction that you're writing, so you can tell the truth, and maybe it's because it's in your head that way, that it's not really something you're saying, I am this or did this or what have you.
Oh, you mean my writing? The writing that I'm speaking of was I was doing a lot of journal writing at that time, and I found myself telling tales to myself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, this is a false me that I'm trying to convince, and I'm doing something bad with this. I need to
stop.
Get more abstract.
I got you. I totally get it.
And listen to some other thing, because the music never sounds right unless I'm telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You and everything about you seems so right-brained that it's hard for me to believe sometimes when I hear you say, I do tarot readings for me on the side. I only do them for close friends anymore. And it's always hard for me to believe that when you struggle and you're struggling with left brain stuff, like you are left-brained somehow, and you're trying to free yourself into right brain stuff. And I just, everything about you is right brain. And tonight's chit chat really illustrated that. So it's bizarre, your perception of yourself too, that I'm hearing.
Oh, what I was just saying about writing and music?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do live in the right brain world, but I think there's a part of me that forces myself, that I have to deal with the other part. I have to deal with it's there, there's people around me. There's like, I just have to deal with that left brain world. And I think there's, something about how I was writing at this one time. It was just, I was lying to myself. I was playing a game. Huh?
I love that realization always. That's just the cold hard, like, I was lying to myself. It's like a noir book. The line somewhere. That's great.
Who knows what? I should find those journals. They're probably gone.
That's a hard-boiled realization, though.
Yeah, like I was painting a picture that wasn't real. It's hard to explain, but like, yeah, like, I will never do this and I am like this. It was too concrete and not fluid and not coming from the deepest part of my soul that was actually seeking greater knowledge and growth. I don't know. It was limiting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What? I'm a right brain girl living in a left brain world.
Oh my God, yes.
But I can't help but ask, are you forcing yourself? Is it a square peg in a round hole? Are you trying to conform to Left Brain Society, or are you
not
trying...
necessarily, but a girl's got to make some money, and sometimes you have to deal with shit, you know.
Sure, we all do.
And I think because I'm so almost on the other side of, like, I'm definitely very intuitive. I'm definitely very creative, and I'm not concerned with, you know, a lot of the particulars of existence, you know, sometimes. And then, but I have to figure it out because I have to live here, you know, and I have to figure out all those, like, you know, detail-y things, and how to run a business, and how to keep a roof over your head, and how to iron your shirt when you're going to work, you know, just stupid things that, you know, like, you know, employers are like, it is not stupid to look presentable at work, you know. It's like, well,
nobody ever sees me except my computer.
Right. Right. I mean, but yeah. So no, I do try to fit in. Yeah, I do. I'm not trying to fit in because I can't. Like, my friend said this wonderful quote from this friend of mine that I just love. She was from Trinidad, and we were going out somewhere. She was visiting me, and I was like, Deborah, how do I look? And she's like, Amy, you can't hide the madness.
Oh, yes. That's great.
That's pretty much how it is. No matter what I do, I cannot, like, hide it. So I don't try to fit in. I just know I have to figure out some of the rules of this other world, you know?
In my experience, I've found that treating it like a game, especially a poker game, works out really well.
And it kind of is a game.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, in conversations, you know, I was just talking to Tanishka about this the other day, about, like, being around people that just think differently. They're thinking more of, like, you know, the political landscape and this very, very concrete world that we live in. And of course, yes, people, that's great. If you can, that's great. You know, if you have a mind that works in that realm, you know, that's great. I don't have that much to contribute, and I don't know how to contribute, because the lessons from my realm are, like, different. And a lot of times when you come into contact with people that are very earthy, and right now, right here, politics, you know, community, economics, those, they don't want to hear about it. You know what I mean? It's not like, you know, if I said, hey, you know, maybe it's the root of things, man, you know, or whatever. It's like, you gotta look inside, dude. Politics is just subterfuge, you know, whatever. Like, nobody wants to hear that. Those people don't.
But that's true.
Or maybe they but, well, it is true. Yeah. But it's funny because it's like, it's, for me, like, I guess I've been in these conversations before. And at this point in my life, I'm sort of like, I don't want to waste my energy on trying to convince you of anything. So you just talk about your thing, and I'll talk about my thing. Or I'll be quiet and listen to what you guys are talking about. But yeah, I wouldn't mind, like, engaging in that world with the strength of where my brain is 90% of the time. But it's a difficult place to be. It's a difficult place to engage, I think. Unless you're super, super solid. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, you can't do it from an emotional side.
Right, and I wouldn't want to, I mean, but I feel like the people that, like, I recall when I was much younger, I was having a conversation with somebody. He was very political, and I was saying something like, well, I feel like for me, working in, you know, politics or working against all this is distracting me from what I need to be working on inside. I need to focus. You need to start from the inside and go out. And if everybody would do that, maybe it would be a lot better around here. You know, like, if people started focusing on how to make their, like, small world better, you know, from the inside out. And the guy was like, and it's true though, he has a point. He said, you know, but you're the kind of person that they're trying to destroy. They're going to take all your rights away, and they're going to like but they can never take the inside. You know what I mean? Like, even if they put me in jail and tortured me, which would completely suck, obviously,
You can't take
you
away
still
who
have
you
your
are.
inside. You know, but that's like the core of you. That's what I focus. But, you know, I feel like each person has their different role. You know, there's the people, even though I think some people can do both easier than others, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I have a kind of a left field question. So let's get dark
Physical,
here.
let's get physical.
Let's go left field.
Okay.
Let's go out into the ethers. So what do you think all this is that we're having? This experience of life and living. And beyond, I know you tend, from what I understand, to have a heavy bent towards the analytical aspect, which is very, when you're talking, I know that you feel differently because of the conversations we've had, but if you just let yourself go and you just wander out, what do you think's going on with this life? Like right now, what is happening? What's this all about, Ayme?
you're talking to the 4-year-old now. It's like,
yes, I'm trying to tap into her.
It's a dream.
What's
it's somebody's
it all about,
dream.
Ayme?
Alfie.
I have tons of musical triggers, so you're gonna have to deal with that.
Oh, Jerry's a jukebox. That's part of his AI stuff.
Yes.
No, I'm right back in my 4-year-old land right now, where like, what is this? Is it somebody else's dream? Is it my dream?
Yes, I want to get there.
I mean, I always think that, you know. And when you really get down to it, if you really, I mean, that's like right now I'm in my 4-year-old state where it's like, what is this whole thing? It's a dream. It's bizarre when you really think about it. I mean, seriously, like what on earth is the point of any of it? But it's not like a sad, to me, like when I think about it, it's like not a sad, what's the point? It's just like, what the heck is this? Like me sitting in my cool little apartment with my like Christmas lights. But seriously, what is this? Good question, because I don't know. But it's fascinating. It's like we're these little orbs of light wandering around. Like, it's just bizarre. I don't know what it is, but it feels like a dream. We're all playing these little games and going through these, I don't know, crazy. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's very strange. I'm totally in my tripped out 4-year-old land now.
Do you have?
But it's like I took a hit of acid.
That's where I want to take you there.
It's natural for me to be in the state of taking acid. I mean, I think that's like kind of a natural place for me to be.
Yeah, me too. I can pull up there. Well, it's that whole right brained experience. You know, when we're looking at it, it's allowing yourself the freedom to do that. That is I think the more challenging aspect.
That's the one reason I could never enjoy it, because I could not let go of the control.
That's a big deal, the control.
It is. And, you know, I think the reason, I mean, like when somebody says, like your question, the question that was posed is like, what is this? I mean, that's my experience of, it's wordless, you know, really. It's the place without words that makes it so trippy. There are no words there. It's like when I do craniosacral therapy, it's very quiet. It's very, it's so fascinating because all this stuff is happening in this place with no word spoken. And it's like, you can't define it to me. Like, I mean, the minute you try to put words in it, it loses it still works and there's power in it. But that place with no words is just such a beautiful place to be. it's profound, and it's beyond and limitless, you know.
Well, of course, words are the spell, as everyone knows, and they are limiting, or they are the construct, you know, which is also limiting because of the nature of a construct. But still, it's still fun to chew the fodder and throw words to what is in the end indefinable, unreachable from where we are, unreachable, and hard to make tangible. It's not concrete at all. And so I feel like when I'm talking, and I especially like talking to people that aren't front loaded with a bunch of crap. And this is why you're great, because you are not, Ayme. You're truly not front loaded with all this stuff that Jerry and I get a lot of that. And we're walking in these circles, and, which is fine. I love it. But I like interacting with people that feel a little bit more natural and don't have the programming with the specific language attached to it.
Yeah.
So, right. Well, it is the holy whole, the unknowable, the unknown, the darkness, but it's still something. And I think we can still find language to describe that which cannot be described.
Well, when you know, I mean, when you really think about, you know, dreaming and life, they're so synonymous. I mean, to me, when people think things are so concrete and obvious is when it's the most hilarious to me. Really? Nothing is concrete. It looks like it's concrete. It looks like you think you're looking at a chair right now, and you're like, well, that's a chair. Okay, buddy? You can't tell me that's not a chair. Well, maybe I could, really. I mean, why? You know, it's because it's all so much less tangible than we, like, if we took away all the tangible, like, touchy, like, obviouses and threw them out the window, the place is, like, scary because we can't define it, you know? Like, it's like, what is this place? You know, once you strip it of the idea that it's real and concrete and obvious and you can count on it, all of a sudden then you're in this magical landscape of possibilities.
I like that you use the window as the analogy, because that was one of the first things for me that got me into looking at the physics of stuff. So when I first I learned that glass was not solid, that it's a liquid. And I mean, that blew my mind. It was years and years and years ago. I was a young person, but
metal is too.
Yeah, it's still, when I think about it. And so we perceive it this way, and that's what gets down in, which in the old school, the sciences were, of course, the occult, right? But this is the environment in which we're perceiving is completely constructed. It's a construct, and we're not privy to all the shades. We're not privy to all the coding. We're not privy to it in its entirety. At least
from our perspective, we are part of the code.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. That is what I'm trying to grasp at.
Right.
So it's and we get so tied in, and this is what's so funny about when I peer out into the outer world, is the stuff that is so important and earth shattering and moving, and, you know, fashion and all this stuff is just, it seems so trivial.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it's the gravity that's holding us all down. And apparently we need that.
Well, right. Weren't you just talking about attachments before? It's like, it's these things that ground us, or we'd all float away. You know, like what would happen? Like if it and the
we would ascend.
Yeah, exactly. Float away. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's that we choose to be here almost, you know. It's like we can move out of it. And because really,
that's one
like,
way to look at karma too, that it weighs you down, keeps you here.
Yeah, karma fits completely into that. That it's as a template. It fits perfectly.
well, when I, get into this, like, I just took acid state. It's funny to me to think, like, when you really actually feel the question of what is this? Because I feel that in my whole being right now, like, because I've lived that question, and it makes me think about the people that are neuroscientists or something, and they're like, well, actually that feeling is related to this part of your brain, and that's why, and that's the simple explanation. But is it really a simple explanation? It isn't. There's no you can't, even if you have the language of science behind you that says, oh, well, just this, it's like, just this. I don't know if that negates the mystery of it at all. You just found a way to explain the mechanics of it,
And it's funny because in the language of science, it changes with the new data that comes in, the new input,
right.
And then the old stuff is null and void. And so all this time where it was like, this is the way it is. This is, it's the great tundra of theories that we live by as doctrine. And it holds us down. It because we have to appear, or we have to maintain the construct, right? To get by. We all have to continue on every day. We're telling ourselves this, right? And there's this great fear of sounding crazy. There's this great fear of being on the fringe. There's this, because of the ostracization process that is indoctrinated into us. And so even those that are born, I think I can kind of associate. I look at people and I see animals a lot, not always, but the ones that I do see are so obvious. It's like, wow, that person looks like a cat or an owl or a rat or whatever. And I think I'm not alone in that. You can just see that. And I find that a beautiful aspect of perception. Anyway, so I think we are born into a sigil. And that's the way I've said it since I was little, Jerry. And
it sounded fine. Quit worrying about it.
So we're born into it, though, which is our body, our birth chart, and we inhabit that. So we're animating that sigil, which is our little life here, our experience, and the boundaries within it. So anything outside of it, while we're in it, is what? Blank space? Dreamland? What is it? That's why I'm starting to think of life as a sigil, and the experience, the waking experience, as a set sigil, and as a spell that I've put around myself, that I conjured myself into this, or a piece of me, a part of me conjured the spirit from the ethers that is I'm now inhabiting into being, into this dimension here and now.
It's interesting because it kind of falls in line with the way I felt when I was little. It's the feeling. It was definitely feeling like, well, is this my dream? Is this somebody else's dream? Whose dream am I in? And that's like a constant theme that you hear. I was just thinking about a Bob Dylan song where he's talking about that. I'll let you be in my dream if I can be in yours or whatever.
It's everywhere. It's all around.
It's everywhere. Us. The idea of that, because it's so hard to be outside of these vestibules that we're in. And it's like but we're all so connected. We're all in the same dream, you know.
We're all agreeing.
We're all in the same pool.
We're agreeing on these laws that are dictating like this kind of slavery algorithm that we're in, you know. Otherwise,
we've been programmed. I mean, that's what the construct does, is it puts these mental constructions, framework, cages, whatever you want to call them, in your mind. You think you can't do something because of whatever reason. Nobody else does that. It's not right. It's illegal. But those are just all concepts. They're all just concepts.
I mean, and people are so attached to them too. They get very, very attached to them. And
look at football.
Right. I mean, that's why I think I used to speak out on it a lot, you know, when I was younger, because I've always been this kind of in the same place, really. I live in the same world where it's like, no, there's more to this world than just what you're seeing. I'm not against what you're doing. I'm just saying there's more to it, and there's more. But people get so angry, you know, like they can't handle it if you challenge that, you know. Even with like alternative healing, you know, like a craniosacral therapy, it's like it's rooted in science that work. But people sometimes are just like, it's just a bunch of hooey. What are you waving sticks over me? You know, like, it's like
I would argue
why do you have to be so against it? You know? Like, what's your problem?
It's the same with acupuncture. And
what if I was waving sticks out of you? If you felt better, you know, like, would it be nice?
Oh, that's so Midwestern, though. I love it. That was the language.
You gonna wave a dead chicken over me? Yeah, I know. It's funny because like acupuncture is pretty much scientifically sound and works, but there is
ancient.
some healings like those are more belief based than other ones. So, you know, you waving sticks at someone with the strong intention to heal them will probably heal them.
Well, that's the thing.
Who you are, you believe it. You know it works. That's the difference.
Right. I mean, it's interesting too, because when it comes to, you know, things of this nature, it's like part of, I always go back to, it's funny because, you know, people, the waving sticks, you know, those people probably never spend an hour in silence ever, you know. The people that it's terrifying, you know, so they don't want it, like, because I think the power of the work, a lot of, to me, is the silence.
Yes.
The silence and being with your body for an hour or an hour and a half, somebody else in silence with you. That is the most powerful thing, because then all these things surface that are part of this other realm. And it's not even like, that part of it isn't even that mystical. It's just that we don't even give ourselves silence ever.
It is mystical. It is in silence that we are born. It is in silence that we die. No matter what's going on in the outer world, those are internal processes, and we shut the rest out. And so it is always in silence that we have to move through our own selves, where we actually have to pull together everything that we are to get through something and shed the ego. It's terrifying to people.
Yeah. Just to sit in that silence, you know.
Oh, it's a gigantic thing.
It is. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the work, but to me, I focus on that one single aspect, because that's just the simplicity of being quiet. And trying to allow your mind to be still while someone else is, like, because I focus on that the whole time, keeping my mind quiet. I mean, of course, like, things float in and out, but that's like meditation. You're meditating, you're sitting there, and then you're hungry, and your brain's going, I'm hungry, you know. And then you're like, okay, I hear you're hungry. Okay. It's like yes, and this is quietness. Yes, and But I mean, people just, I just find it interesting that people just can't handle it at all. It's kind of sad.
And not only that, it triggers them when you bring it up.
Yeah, and then they get a little angry, and then or pokey, like, you stop, and then
like
they try to push your buttons or do whatever, and it's like
people take stuff too personally sometimes. I don't know, it's just a general opinion. It doesn't have to do with you per se.
Right. So, yeah. Science. I love science, so I guess that's on the other side of it. It's just, I'm fascinated by the world of science and that people figure out language for all these magical things, but they don't not all of them. I would never ever say. There's a lot of scientists that are super confident in who they are and able to explore the mysteries as well, but a lot of people get too attached to it and they just can't be open at all.
Like that great 1980s song from Laurie Anderson where she says, literally, language is a virus. How appropriate is that now, especially coming forward to where we are here and now? Language is a virus.
Yeah.
There's a great movie that explores that concept. It's called Pontypool.
Pontypool.
I don't think I've seen it, so I don't. It doesn't sound familiar.
Give you a link. It's all about a word virus. It's really a language virus. You can just watch it.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to see it too.
Amy, can you see?
Where are you linking
these links?
Oh, I can see it. Can you see the links, Amy?
Oh, now I can now. I can because my computer went black.
That happens.
Yeah, it does.
Our show's too awesome and the AI tries to shut us down.
For real.
You're scary.
Not kidding.
Scary.
Here's
video
the
there.
Link to the article I was talking about the collective unconscious that I wrote 3 days ago.
Do those things stay? Do those links stay, or do I need to click it so I know where it is? Where do they go?
I emailed it to
Where
you.
do they go, man?
Yeah, I think they stay there until I delete the chat, which I will never do. So, yeah, they'll be there.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Your picture on there is, I know what it's from, the Clockwork Orange, but I'm feeling that way myself after 3 days of no sleep. I'm like, who's going to do that for me? Because I'm like, ugh. Danishka, I was actually hanging out with Rockin Johnny and Rick Crayer last night, driving around the city of Chicago helping Johnny look for, I wasn't really much help. I was just sitting in the backseat of the car, but going with Johnny on a journey to find a venue. But it was pretty funny. I was like, wow. While strangely, Sho was messaging me from Japan.
I love
which
Sho.
he hasn't done in months.
I love Johnny. I love all those people.
I was going to warn you that you may have a few days of synchronicities after this.
Yes, you've activated it, Amy. It's been activated.
Yeah.
Good. I want my grandpa to come visit me in my dreams, and then maybe I'm going to go on a little journey in my dreams. I'll let you guys. Yeah, talk to me in the ear. And I'll let you know if I started lucid dreaming.
I put that in the email too.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm starting, man. I want to go in my dreams and talk like that. Be like, yo.
Thank you so much for coming on and doing this after show with us too. This was fantastic.
Yes, thank you so much.
It was really fun for me too. I'm glad I had a great time.
Right. I don't think anyone's ever said it sucked.
Oh no, that's very good.
No, we've only had good feedback. There's only been like a couple weird feedback comments, but they weren't necessarily bad.
I meant from
not
guests.
On this show.
I meant from guests. No one's ever said. I mean, especially people who were apprehensive or didn't know what they were to expect. They're like, "Oh, that was really fun and interesting, and I can't wait to do it again."
Yeah.
That's what everyone always says. So like, okay, cool.
Yeah, we are kind of doing something different.
No, I love it. I love it. Now I get to listen to the other ones now that I've already done it myself.
All right, both of you.
All right.
I will see you all later.
Thank you all. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.